Hello! We got two interesting products from our friends at HGLRC today, both named Thor, which they seem to be continuing their sort of God series where some of their flight controllers and VTX were called Zeus. They've now moved over to Viking mythology. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, Thor, God of Thunder. This first one is a intelligent balance board which has a built-in discharger, and this is a standalone discharger, both of which need to be shown up close. So let's go to close up and we'll go through what these are and what they do. Okay, let's talk Thor products, and they're actually quite similar. Let's get these out of the boxes first for starters, and we'll start with the parallel charger. You've got the charger itself, you've got the balance lead, an XT60 lead, some instructions, a little QC card and some stickers. What's interesting about this, now aside from the fact it's got some good features, so it's got individual 15 amp fuses for each of the 4 battery connectors. It's also got individual fuses for each of the balance connectors, which will tell you with an LED if you've done the wrong thing. It's also got a standalone discharge module at the end here, and this ties up quite nicely with the other little Thor product. And if we take that one out of the box, we've got the little product itself, instruction manual, stickers, all the normal stuff. And this looks very much like this. This is a little standalone discharge module. It's got a little resistor in there which just heats up and expels the energy as heat, which is exactly what this one does. I don't know if these have exactly the same discharge chip in it. Obviously you can put an XT30 in this one as well as an XT60, which is nice. And you've got a little button to change how many cells you're doing, and you've got the same little button just there. So what I'll do first, let's hook this up and do some parallel charging. Now I have to admit, I haven't been the biggest fan of parallel charging in the past because of having several incidents where basically wires set on fire. I was lucky not to get anything other than wires burn up, but that always put me off. And then we had these really cool things with everything is fused and everything in it is designed to capture any short or anything like that. Also, this was my favourite charger, and I say was because if you look there, it blew. It absolutely went. Both the AC and the DC basically went, and this is just a dead charger. I do have this other dual charger which is pretty good as a replacement, but my goodness, this is loud. So using a parallel board is not out of my list of possibilities for charging things up now. Now normal rules apply for parallel charging. I don't want to go through all of them again. You're trying to use the same size lipos. You need to make sure that each of your cells in each of the batteries is within like 0.1 volts of each other. Basically, if you're coming straight from storage, you should be okay, but you just need to double check that the batteries are all pretty close to one another, else it's, you know, there's troubles in store. Just make sure you get that right and it should be good. So let's grab some batteries, let's do a parallel charge, and then we'll see exactly how the discharge works on both this one and this little guy. Okay, so here's our balance board connected. I'm using this other Hobbymate charger mostly because it's fairly quiet, which is nice. The other one could do too, but it's very loud. And I'm going to charge 4 batteries. I've got these old ones. These are my old Nanotech 1.3 amp 4S's, and they have come from April 2016. I try and label my batteries to work out how long they last, but you know, these are doing okay just for a little bit of flying. They're not brilliant in today's quads, but they've lasted all right. So anyway, first thing I did is just plug them in turn, just so I could double check that each of their cells were about the same, and they all came up at about 3.82, 3.81, so that's well within the limits. Now in terms of actually connecting up, it says in the instructions you should connect the main battery output first before you connect up the balance leads. I keep seeing conflicting information about this, but I'm going to follow the instructions because I'm at least happy that we've got these fuses here and ones if you cock up your balance connector. So put them all in and then connect up. These have got you notice the shape of the connector. This would be really hard to screw up because they've got that same shape. So you can't literally try and plug in the middle. Oh, you see, I just did there. You see, we got the light on saying, "Oh, you've misplugged it." So that's working well. Honest, I meant to do that. That's my story anyway. It's the last one. So they're all plugged in happily. Nothing's lit up there, which is good. And of course, to balance charge, we can basically say this is 1.3 amp times 4, which is 1.3, 2.6, 3.9, 5.2. So we can charge at 1C at 5.2 amps. So what we say is, last time I was charging high voltage, which is not this time. So yeah, charge, and I'm going to charge at, oop, not that much, 5.2 amps to give those a 1C charge. And let's start it off. And you can see we've got a timer there, so it's easy to see when that's going to go. This is ramping up now. It's got up to 5.2. So I'll leave it there, and when I come back, we'll see how long that took to charge all these batteries at once. And we are done with a time of 35 minutes 54 seconds, which is pretty good to do 4 batteries. Obviously, if you've got a dual charger, you can plug 2 of these in if you want to and charge 8 at a time. Feeling a lot safer with all these fuses around and stuff. But the next thing I want to check is what I can do to discharge these with this thing and, of course, the standalone 4 unit. I did test one of these out before from another company, and it took an absolute age. So it'd be interesting to check how long this one takes. Now, to use the discharger, it doesn't need to be plugged in, and using this to discharge, one of the only ways you'd really get to do it is if you'd basically gone and you'd charged up a bunch of batteries, you didn't get to use them, that way you can guarantee they're at the same charge rate and you can discharge them this way. Usually, unless you've got a particularly good charger, it's not going to be any faster here. It's just slightly convenient having multiple ones plugged in to discharge them. But for this, I'm going to discharge by itself, and you notice we don't need to have it plugged in, and all we need to do is plug this dude in there like so, and then we've got a little indicator here to say this is 2S, so we need to change that to 4S. This would just talk about where the stopping capacity is to get it down to 3.8 volts per cell. So that one I'm going to leave there, and I have a feeling it's going to be there for a long time, and I'm going to do the same with this one. So this has, it's very small, but it's just written across the top 2S, 3S, 4S, and you can just see it. Plug that one in and press the button till it says 4S. That's at 16.8 at the moment. That one's saying 16.9. Let us see what happens. I'm just going to leave it in there. I'm going to check the time here. It's just gone 2:30. And see what happens in the next few hours, because I'm going to assume these are going to take a long time. Well, it's 2 hours later, and I've discharged both the batteries I wasn't using. As you can see, they took about half an hour to get into storage charge. These ones have gone all the way down to 16.5 and 16.6, which means it's going to take hours and hours and hours. I kind of failed to see what these are going to be used for, unfortunately. I mean, this one's obviously brilliant because it's a parallel charge board. This bit at the end, it's like you'd use a charger. Perhaps if you were going on a 12-hour car journey and you wanted to discharge your batteries, and they were obviously a bit closer to storage charge anyway, because if you generally used them, maybe they'd be at something like 3.85, 3.9, and then you get it down to 3.8 and it wouldn't take as long. But when you're talking about like fully charged batteries and you just sat there looking at that for 2 hours and it's gone down like 0.2 or 0.3 of a volt, that's a long time to wait. Anyway, I will leave these going. I will come back with a final report on exactly how long each of these took to get to storage charge. Well, it's 1 AM, so that's about 10.5 hours, and we're still not there. We're nearly there, but we're not there, and I need to go to bed, so I'm unplugging these. We'll finish them off tomorrow. So a little over sort of 14 hours in total these have been going, and I just stopped it here so we could see what happens when it's actually done. This one's done, and what happens is, well, the LED will flash a few times and then go out. So that's now at storage charge. This one still is going, but I can at least have a quick look at this on the charger and see what it actually comes up as. Will it be in balance? And yeah, everything's at about 3.83, not quite at 3.8, but all the cells seem nicely in balance. And that will generally tend to happen if you've got healthy batteries, because when you're taking the power out nice and slowly, it will generally the cells will balance out by themselves. So yeah, not bad, but you know, took 14 hours, so I'm not sure that's worth it, obviously. Well, that was a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, we've got the Thor Parallel board. Pretty good. I'm slowly becoming a bit of a convert to parallel charging. Now everybody's putting in these safety features, and you've got individual changeable fuses here. You've got an impossibility to miswire your balance leads because it shows up and won't do it. So that's pretty good, and a nice price as well. Very simple to get, and I like the fact it's got XT30 on as well. Often it's the case of wanting to take out a little toothpick and having to charge these up because they last so little time when you're flying them, and getting multiple ones in at the same time, pretty useful stuff to do. Also, all my chargers except XT60s, and I've only made up a certain amount of adapters to put XT30s in as well, so very useful for that. On the other hand, the little discharge module, I can't really find a purpose for it. It's just too slow. Very nice, it tells you what voltage it is and stuff, but you know, lots can do that. I think the problem is that if you're putting in something that's got more than like 0.3 of a volt that it needs to discharge, it just takes too long. You might as well just get it on a charger. I mean, they're nice and cheap, not too expensive, and you can check your voltage with them. I just cannot see, for me, a situation where I'd ever really be using this. Heat wise, it does heat up, but it's not outrageously hot, so it's not like they're going to burn through stuff if you just leave them there. And you know, it's even in this sort of thing, I wouldn't just leave the room or leave the batteries unattended if you were discharging. Like this a lot, don't like this so much. Anyway, these were very kindly supplied by HGLRC for review, so many thanks to them, and you can find, of course, links down below for where you can get them. What I intended to test this week was another product from HGLRC called the Raceroute 30. The weather did not play ball. Hopefully in the next week or so it's going to pick up and I'll be out flying this thing, which looks really interesting, so stay tuned for that if you can. Anyway, hope that's been helpful, and I'll catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.